So today we'll continue with the thrombosis part. One of the most important part is embolism. Okay. So what is embolism? Anyone? Yes. So I'll be covering all these points. First we'll go through the definition, then types of emboli, thromboembolism, then we'll go different types of embolism like pulmonary, systemic, fat, air. Then we'll go, one of the important topic is decompression sickness, and lastly the amniotic fluid embolism and miscellaneous topics. Okay. So what is an embolus? So it is a detached intravascular, either it can be solid, liquid or gaseous mass. Okay. So it got detached from one area and it is carried by the blood from its point to the of origin to a distant site. So where from it is originating, it will go to a different site. Okay. And where it often causes dysfunction or any infarction. Okay. So the most common or most usual form of emboli is thromboembolism. So from the last class, what you can recall? What is a thrombus made up of? How a thrombus was made? What are the constituents of a thrombus? Tell. Platelets, RBCs. I want answer from the girl side also. Okay, the boys are answering nice. So what are the constituents of a thrombus? Fibrin, then RBCs, WBCs, platelets. These are the basic constituents of a thrombus. Okay. So can everyone see? So the most usual form of embolus is a thromboemboli. Okay. So what are the types of emboli? Can everyone see here? So what are the types of emboli? Okay. So depending upon the matter of the emboli, it can be either solid, liquid or gaseous. Okay. So what are the solid emboli? It is a detached thrombi. As I have already mentioned, like thromboembolism is the most common form of emboli. Okay. So it can be either an erythematous material, or it can be some tumor cell clumps, or it can be some parasites, some tissue fragments, or any bacterial clumps and foreign bodies. Okay. Clear? Then coming to the liquid one. Liquid, what it is made up of? Mainly fat globules. Okay. So the fat constitutes the content in the liquid, and also it can be amniotic fluid or bone marrow. Okay. So these are coming under the liquid. Okay. And the gaseous may be of air or some other gases. Okay. Clear? This one is the depending upon the matter of the emboli. Okay. So second is depending upon the whether it is infected or not. Okay. So emboli, can it be infected? Okay. Come. What's the time? Why are you coming late? Come quickly. Don't sit this side, come this side. So depending upon whether it is infected or not. Okay. So it can be either sterile or it can be infected. Okay. Sterile means it is bland, and if it is infected, it is septic. Okay. Clear? Then the third one is depending upon the source of emboli. Okay. So what are the sources of emboli? What are the sources of thrombus? What we read last class? Can it be cardiac? Can it be arterial? Can it be venous? Okay. So all this can be the source of emboli too. Okay. So the cardiac emboli mainly originates from the left side of the heart. Okay. So it can originate from the atrium or the atrial appendages. It can be from infarction of the left ventricle, or it can be from the vegetations of in any kind of endocarditis. Okay. Then coming to arterial emboli, where from arterial emboli is coming? It can come from brain, spleen, kidney and intestine. Okay? Brain is the most common form of arterial emboli. It is the most common one. Okay? Remember that. Then coming to venous emboli, venous means mainly the pulmonary arteries will come. Okay? And lymphatic also can occur, lymphatic emboli can also occur. Okay? So what are the types here? Tell loudly. Cardiac emboli, arterial, venous, lymphatic. Clear? And the fourth one is depending upon the flow of the blood. Okay? So either it can be paradoxical emboli or it can be retrograde emboli. So what is paradoxical emboli? Anyone? What is written? An embolus which is carried from the venous end to the arterial end or vice versa. Okay? So it can go from venous to arterial or it can come from arterial to venous. Okay? So such type of embolus is known as paradoxical embolus. Okay? So here you can see one example I have given, like septal defects. You have read in anatomy ASD, VSD, that is atrial septal defect, ventricular septal defect. Okay? So these septal defects from arterial to venous or venous end to the arterial side, this embolus can come. Okay? Clear? Or it can happen in arteriovenous shunts in the lungs also. Okay? Then what is retrograde? What does it mean by the time? It is going opposite. Okay? Towards reverse it is going. So it is, the name itself is telling it as retrograde. So what is written? An embolus that travels against the flow of the blood. Okay? Clear? So it can be some metastatic deposit, like in cancer of the prostate, the prostate carcinoma deposit can go to the spine. Okay? So metastatic deposits in spine from CA prostate. Okay? So this is a retrograde type of embolus. Clear? So see, this is a table in Robbins. What it's written, like if it is a type of pulmonary embolism, the common origin will be veins of the leg. So we know DVT is the most common type, where we can see the veins of the legs are involved and it causes pulmonary embolism or pulmonary thromboembolism. Okay? Then in systemic, I'll come in each and every one of this. Systemic embolism, it arises from the left ventricle. Fat embolism if there is trauma to the bones. Air embolism in case of head and neck operations or any surgical procedures. In case of decompression sickness, we'll come to this. Amniotic fluid, you know from the contents of the amniotic fluid, and atheroembolism from atheromatous plugs, and also some tumor embolus will be there. Okay? So first coming to thromboembolism. What is thromboembolism? I already mentioned. Tell anyone. Tell. Same thing only. Thrombus which is carried and the formation of that thrombus. What is the contents of the thrombus? RBC, WBC, platelets, thrombin, everything. Okay. So this detached thrombus or a part of thrombus constitutes the most common type. So thromboembolism is one of the most common type of embolus. Okay? So it can be either arterial or it can be venous. Okay? So what are the arterial thrombi? From where it is originated? It can be from the heart, which is the most common. It can be from lungs. It can be systemic. Okay? So in heart, it can be mural thrombi, it can be vegetative mural endocarditis, it can be valvular endocarditis, prosthetic valves, it can be cardiomyopathy, or it can be endocarditis also. Okay? So these are the sources of arterial thromboembolism in case of heart. Okay? Next is lungs. Lungs, in lungs, what are the things, that is pulmonary vein. Okay, so remember, and the systemic is aortic atherosclerosis, carotid atherosclerosis and aortic aneurysm. Okay, next is venous thromboembolism. Okay, so most commonly, as you know, is deep vein thrombosis. Okay, then is pelvic vein, cavernous sinus. So many things are there in heart, mainly from the right side of the heart, and in lungs are the pulmonary artery. So here you remember, venous will be pulmonary artery. In case of artery, it will be pulmonary vein, as it carries the deoxygenated blood. Okay. So pulmonary thromboembolism, it's one of the most important thromboembolism occurring. Most commonly you can see this. Okay. So originally it originates from deep vein thrombosis. So what are the etiology? Where it is commonly occurring from? From the answer from here. Where from it is occurring? Pulmonary thromboembolism from the veins of the legs. Name? Popliteal vein, saphenous, then femoral iliac. Less commonly it occurs from the varicosities. Okay, clear? So coming to the pathogenesis, that day we have studied about the virtuous triad. What was the three constituents of the virtuous triad? Stand up and tell. How many constituents were there in virtuous triad? In thrombus we have studied. Tell. Stasis, hypercoagulability, endothelial injury. So come sequence wise. Okay, first is endothelial injury, then is abnormal blood flow or stasis, then coming to the last one is hypercoagulability. So here also the same thing. So the risk factor for pulmonary thromboembolism is stasis or any hypercoagulable state. Okay. You guys should answer, otherwise I won't teach anymore. Okay. It can't be a one-way class. So if the thrombus is large, okay, so from the site of origin it is carried away, and if it is large, it will go and impact in some of the areas. Okay, so if it gets impacted in the bifurcation of the trachea, okay, so what you can see, it is known as saddle embolus. Okay, bifurcation of the pulmonary artery, it will go like, have you recall in anatomy that the pulmonary artery will be having a one bifurcation. Okay, so it will go and take the shape of that artery, and this is known as saddle embolus. Very important viva question as well as for theory. Okay, this is known as saddle embolus in the bifurcation of the pulmonary artery. Okay. Next is, there can be multiple emboli also, which can dislodge and go from one side to the other side. Mainly it affects the lower lobes of the lungs. Okay, multiple emboli. So see here in this diagram, you can see this is the pulmonary artery, where you can see this embolus got dislodged in the bifurcation. This is known as saddle embolus. Okay, clear everyone? Now what are the consequences of pulmonary embolism? So can sudden death occur if the artery is blocked by the embolus? Can sudden death occur? Yes. So instantaneous death can occur due to this massive pulmonary embolism, and it can occur without any symptom, that is without any signs of chest pain or dyspnea. Okay. Did you hear about the term cor pulmonale? Anyone idea what is cor pulmonale? See, this is acute cor pulmonale, means numerous small emboli. Okay, so what they will do, they will obstruct the pulmonary circulation resulting in right heart failure. So what we call in common term is heart cause due to lung cause. Okay. So here the right side of the heart is failed because of the obstruction in the pulmonary circulation. So heart cause due to lung cause is known as cor pulmonale. Okay. Clear? Then coming to the third one is pulmonary infarction. Okay. So it is due to the obstruction of the relatively small size pulmonary arterial branches. Okay. Then pulmonary hemorrhage can occur. Then there will be resolution due to the fibrinolytic activity. Okay. So tell everyone what are the consequences. First one is instantaneous death. Then cor pulmonale. Then pulmonary infarction. Then pulmonary hemorrhage. Then resolution. Okay. So in this diagram you can see all the things like sudden death is happening, acute cor pulmonale, pulmonary infarction, hemorrhage, then hypertension and resolution. Okay. Now coming to systemic thromboembolism. What is systemic thromboembolism? Where, in which category it is there? I already showed you the chart. Whether it is arterial or venous? Arterial, very good. So it is a type of arterial thromboembolism which originates from the thrombi of the diseased heart. Especially it originates from the left ventricle. Okay. So the heart disease for which it is due to is maybe myocardial infarction. Then it can be due to rheumatic heart disease, ischemic heart disease. Then it can be due to infective endocarditis or any prosthetic heart valves. Okay. So the cause of they cause infarction at the site of lodgement. Okay, where it is lodged, they will decrease. Obviously, it is decreasing the blood supply. So here infarction is happening. Okay. So what are the sites involved? These are again same: lower extremity, brain, kidney, internal organs like kidney, spleen, intestines. All the things will get involved. Okay. Clear this one? Systemic thromboembolism. So remember, this is a type of arterial thromboembolism and it occurs mainly from the left ventricle. Okay. Now coming to the third one is the fat embolism. Okay. So where from this fat is coming? Idea? Any idea? Where from? Where? What? Fractures of long bone. Very good. Then what? Multiple trauma. Then what you told? Bone marrow. Very good. Anyone? Anything? So these are all the things from where we can get the fat globules. So if there is any fracture, we'll get from the bone marrow constituents, we'll get the fat globules. Okay. So this represents the microscopic appearance of the fat globules, sometimes associated with hematopoietic bone marrow also. Okay. In the vasculature after fractures of the long bone, or rarely in the setting of soft tissue trauma, and in case of burns also you will get. Okay. Type of fat embolism. So these are all the causes. Either it can be traumatic cause or it can be non-traumatic cause. Okay. So under traumatic cause, you already know, like trauma to the bones, like long bones and all, fractures, and in soft tissue, like if there is any laceration of the adipose tissue, there also you can get fat embolism. And in case of non-traumatic, like extensive burns, diabetes, then fatty liver, pancreatitis, all the things like decompression sickness, sickle cell anemia, hyperlipidemia, everything you can get fat embolus, and these are the non-traumatic causes of fat embolus. Okay, clear? Will I continue? So what is the pathogenesis of fat embolism? Very important. So it can be due to mechanical obstruction or it can be due to biochemical injury. Okay. So this fat microemboli are associated with red cell and platelet aggregation. Where the platelets are more, the fat will come and try to accumulate with the platelet. Okay. So, and it occludes the pulmonary and cerebral. That is, they will involve the lungs and they will involve the brain. So, what is happening now? There will be release of the free fatty acids from the fat globules. Okay. Then what they will do after releasing the free fatty acids? What it's written? They will injure the endothelium. After all the things are happening in the blood vessel, so they are hampering our endothelium. Okay, that is, the blood vessels is getting injured, and there will be activation of platelets, and there will be more and more of WBC or granulocyte recruitment. Okay, so this ultimately will lead to the complete vascular assault. That is, they will injure our vessel. Okay. So in this diagram, what you can see, this is inside the pulmonary artery. Okay. So what you can see, what are this? These are the fat globules. Okay. Everyone appreciate these hollow structures are the fat globules, and what you can see here is the hematopoietic bone marrow elements. Okay. So here you can see in this artery, you can see the embolus and constituting fat globules and the hematopoietic bone marrow elements. Okay, clear? So now coming to the consequences of fat embolism. So it can be pulmonary fat embolism. Okay, so if a patient died from any of the fracture of the bone, so what you can see numerous fat emboli in the capillaries of the lung. It will be autopsy finding. Means in post-mortem you can see like multiple small emboli are dislodged in the lung. Okay, so this is a pulmonary fat embolism. Then what you will see in microscopically, if we take sections from the lung in that autopsy specimen, you can see hyperemia. What is hyperemia? Anyone? What? Who is telling? Tell. Yes, there will be more and more of blood accumulation. There will be edema and there will be petechial hemorrhages. Okay. In routine stain, what you will see microscopically? Whether you will see fat globules. What? Whether you will see fat globules or not? Yes. So we will see fat globules in the pulmonary artery capillary alveolar space, and this appears as vacuoles. I already showed in that diagram. Okay, that will be white vacuoles. Okay. And if we do frozen section, what was the stain you already read for fat? What? Sudan black and oil red O. So many of you did wrong in that MCQ question. Okay, just remember for fat it's oil red O. Okay, the term itself is telling it's oil. Okay, so remember like fat. Okay. So, and one more thing is Sudan dyes like Sudan black. Okay. So, in the mainly frozen section, we do to see whether fat globules are there or not. Okay. Clear everyone? Next thing is systemic fat embolism. Okay. Sorry. So, what is systemic fat embolism? So, these fat globules may pass through the pulmonary circulation via the patent foramen ovale or any type of AV shunts and in the lungs, vertebral veins, and it gets lodged in the capillaries of the organs like brain, kidney. Okay. So, this is as a term itself is telling, it is systemic. So it is going to the systems, okay, so like brain, kidney, skin, etc. Okay. So mainly most common systemic fat embolism occurs in brain, okay. So there will be petechial hemorrhages in the meninges and there will be minute hemorrhage in the brain parenchyma, okay. What we will see microscopically? There will be micro infarcts, okay. Small infarcts you will see in the brain when you examine that brain in case of death patients, okay. In autopsy you will see. You can't examine a brain in a living patient, okay. So microscopically you have to see if the patient has died or in autopsy, okay. So microinfarcts of the brain, edema and hemorrhages you will see, and that patient will have complaints of delirium, convulsions, stupor, coma, and there will be sudden death, okay. So remember, this brain is the most commonly affected site in case of systemic fat embolism. Others involved organs will be, I already told, what? Spleen, then kidney, then intestine, okay. So one more is kidney. What we will get here? Here renal fat embolism present in the glomerular capillaries. What they will do ultimately, they will decrease the filtration rate, okay, and they will damage the tubules. Clear systemic? Now another one is air embolism, okay. So air embolism occurs when air is introduced either in the venous circulation or arterial circulation, okay. So these gas bubbles can coalesce to form frothy mass, okay. So when the gas, it is a type of emboli where these gas bubbles within the circulation will coalesce to form frothy mass, okay. So in case of patients you will see some frothy mass in the lung, okay. So what you will see, this obstructs the vascular flow and it causes injury. So either it can be venous air embolism. So in venous air embolism, what is there? Air is stuck where? In the veins of the pulmonary circulation, okay. So in case of operations of the head and neck, in case of any obstetrical operation, in case of intravenous infusion of blood, and in case of angiographic procedures, here you can see venous air embolism, okay. And the second one is arterial air embolism. So where you will get in any kind of cardiothoracic surgeries, okay, bypass surgery or any type of cardiothoracic trauma or surgeries where occurs either due to thoracocentesis or in the rupture of the lung or penetrating wounds of the lungs, you will get this arterial air embolism, okay. So another thing is paradoxical air embolism. What I told about paradoxical embolism? Tell. Okay, when the embolism, tell, I want answer from you all. Tell. What? When the embolus travels from venous to arterial or from arterial to venous, that is known as paradoxical. So here also the same thing is happening. This occurs due to the passage of venous air embolism to the arterial side of the circulation through either it can be due to AV shunts or due to the patent foramen ovale, okay. And another one is arteriography. In arteriographic procedures also arterial air embolism can occur, okay. Clear? So what are the types of air embolism? Venous and arterial air embolism, okay. So one type of air embolism is decompression sickness. Anyone heard about this term? You read in physiology. What is this? What is decompression sickness? Where it happens? In divers and what? I couldn't get. Yes, okay. So, what is happening? So, this is a specialized form of gas embolism where it is of various names like Cazen's disease, like diverse palsy, aeroembolism. These are the various names for decompression sickness. Okay. So, what is happening here? Anyone? Nitrogen bubbles will come and go to the circulation and it will form embolus. Okay. Very good. So, coming to the pathogenesis. So, it occurs when a person suddenly decompresses, okay, like from high atmosphere to the normal or normal to low. When they go like within few seconds, if they go travel, then this decompression sickness happens, okay. Sorry. So, in divers works or the Cazen divers where they are offshore, they are working, who descends from high atmospheric pressure, what will happen? There will be increased amount of atmospheric gases, which gas mainly is nitrogen, remember, okay. So, this nitrogen gets dissolved in the blood and tissue fluids, okay. So, when this individual ascends too rapidly, so if either they travel too high or too low, okay, from the normal, so what will happen? There is a suddenly this gas comes out as a minute bubbles, okay, and this get accumulated in the fatty tissues which have affinity for the nitrogen gas, okay. So, these bubbles coalesce together and form the large emboli, okay. So, remember when there will be that person going from high atmospheric to low or from normal to high or normal to low, this decompression sickness happens because of the accumulation of the nitrogen bubbles or affinity of the nitrogen bubbles towards the blood, okay. So, what are the effects of this decompression sickness? So, here mainly there will be depth or altitude reached or duration of exposure to altered pressure, there will be rate of descent, all these things will matter in case of decompression sickness, okay. And last is general condition of that individual, how that individual was priorly before descending or ascending, okay. So, the clinical effects of decompression sickness is of two types, okay. Either it can be acute or it can be chronic. So, what is the acute form? So, it occurs due to obstruction of the small blood vessels in the vicinity of joint and skeletal muscle, okay. Because of this obstruction in the small vessels, this acute form can occur, okay. And the chronic form is due to ischemic necrosis, okay. So, throughout the body, if there is ischemic necrosis, especially in the skeletal system, so it forms the chronic form of decompression sickness. Clear, everyone? So, coming to the features of chronic. So, there will be avascular necrosis of the bone, like head of the femur, tibia, humerus, all these long bones will get avascular necrosis. What is avascular necrosis? Where there is no blood supply, okay. So, there you will get avascular necrosis. So, and next thing is neurological symptoms you will get paresthesia and paraplegia. Then there will be involvement of the lung in the form of hemorrhage, edema, emphysema, atelectasis, and it results in dyspnea, cough, non-productive cough and chest pain, okay. There will be skin manifestations like itching, erythema, cyanosis or edema. Okay. So these are the manifestations in case of chronic form of decompression sickness. Okay. Next one is amniotic fluid embolism. Have you heard this term, amniotic fluid embolism? So, can anybody tell what is the constituents of amniotic fluid? We have studied already, I hope. Constituents. What amniotic fluid will contain? Anyone? What? I couldn't get you. Amniotic fluid? No, what is the contents of the fluid? I am not telling about the circulation part. Anyone? Can you all see from here? Is it visible? So, amniotic fluid embolism, there are so many things. So, first I'll go like, so it is the 5th most common cause of mortality. It's a very important topic. Like, death occurs so many of the mothers in India because of amniotic fluid embolism, and it constitutes about 10% of the maternal deaths in India. Okay. So, what is the pathogenesis? When it occurs mainly during labor or postpartum. Okay. So, what happens in amniotic fluid is due to the vigorous contractions of the uterine veins or due to the tear in the myometrium, what will happen? The fluid leaks out and it goes to the circulation, and it there it forms the emboli, and there the patient dies of that thrombus, okay, or the embolus, okay. So, the contents of the amniotic fluid enters into the uterine vein. So, when there is rigorous contraction, when the mother is trying to push that baby, when that vigorous contraction happens, there will be tear, and what will happen? This amniotic fluid will enter the uterine veins and it reaches the right side of the heart, okay, through the circulation. So, how they enters, I already told, through the tears in the myometrium or the endocervix, okay. So, the amniotic fluid is forced into the uterine sinusoids by the vigorous contractions, and where they will go? They will go to the right side of the heart, okay. So, what are the contents? Did you hear about all these terms? I think you will come during gynae or pediatric classes. So, the contents which will be found are found in the uterine vein, pulmonary artery or in the vessels. So, these are epithelial squams, Wernicke's caseosa, Lanigo hair, bile and mucus. These 5 things you have to remember what are the constituents of amniotic fluid, okay. So, epithelial squams is like squamous epithelium, nothing like, you will see some squamous cells in that fluid, okay. Then Wernicke's also like one covering will be there like white material, that is known as Wernicke's caseosa. There will be Lanigo hair, bile will be there and some mucus from that baby, okay. So, these are the contents of the amniotic fluid. So, here what you can appreciate is 2 pulmonary arteries, okay. One is this, one is this. Inside what you can see are the squams, okay. So, these are the squams what you can see here. These are the fetal squams. See, this artery got blocked with that squams, and means here the embolus got lodged, okay. So, there will be marked edema and congestion. Here you can see edema. How will you appreciate edema microscopically? Like there won't take any stain, okay. So, it will be white, and congestion area will be of red that like this area it is congested means it is full of RBCs. Okay, means full of vessels will be there here. Okay, so here you can see both the arteries blocked, and this is one picture of amniotic fluid embolism. Okay, clear this one? Lastly, it is the miscellaneous emboli. So many emboli we have studied by far, and these are some of the miscellaneous emboli from the fragments of the tissue, placental fragments, red cells, bacteria, parasites. Like in case of enema also barium emboli can occur. Foreign bodies like needle, talc, sutures, bullets, catheters, etc. also can cause emboli. Okay, clear? Any doubt? Any doubt from beginning? So tell me, what are the types of emboli you saw? First is, depending upon the first one, either it can be solid, liquid or gas. Then next one, it can be infected or non-infected. Then depending on the sources, cardiac, arterial, venous, lymphatics. Then flow of blood, paradoxical and retrograde. What is paradoxical embolus? The venous end to the arterial or vice versa. Okay. What is retrograde? Against the flow of the blood. Okay. What is decompression sickness? Nitrogen bubbles will, it will go and what? Due to rapid ascent. Okay. What will happen? It will block the arteries. Nitrogen bubble will go, nitrogen gas will go and it will react with the blood and that will block the arteries. Okay. Okay. In what are the other names for decompression sickness? Cajun's disease, Divers palsy and aeroembolism. Okay. Then what is fat embolism? When the fat globules accumulate where? Where from it is happening? Multiple fractures, long bone fractures. Okay. What is systemic embolism? What? In case of? Tell, you write only, tell. Don't hesitate to tell answers. Okay. Then what is amniotic fluid embolism? From this side I want some answer. These people are not at all answering. Tell, what is amniotic fluid embolism? When it happens? During postpartum or during labor? How it is happening? Due to excess uterine contractions. Where it will go? To the right side of the heart. Okay. Clear everyone? This is a very important question. Like thrombosis, embolus is a very long question. All the topics are important. It can come as a short note. Each and every topic can come as a short note also. Okay. So try reading everything. Decompression sickness, air embolism, fat embolism, everything is important. Okay. Let's move on to the MCQs. First one. I want the answer. Stand up and tell, not in group. Stand from last bench. Everyone, is it pulmonary thromboembolism? Very good. So what is happening here? Because of post-operative dismobilization, here they have told, like, see, after surgery. So what is happening? That patient is already in rest. Okay, so what is happening? So it predisposes to the DVT, where it will go and leads to pulmonary embolism. Sit down. Next one. Next you. Stand up and tell. Fat embolism, is it correct? So the answer is fat embolism. So remember, this is a classical triad in fat embolism. What is happening is there will be respiratory distress, there will be petechia, and there will be neurological symptoms like delirium, convulsion. All these things will happen. Okay. Third one. Brain. Everyone. So it's brain. Fourth. Which one? Middle row. Answer. Option number B. Everyone? Sorry, I think it's B. I wrote it incorrectly. It's B. Okay. So what will happen? It occurs via the right to left shunt. In case of ASD and VSD, it will happen. Okay. Next. Amniotic fluid embolism. Okay. Next. What is the saddle embolus? Where, first of all, tell me where it is happening. Bifurcation of the pulmonary artery. Okay. So this is a saddle embolus. Okay. So this large embolus gets impacted in the bifurcation of the pulmonary artery, and it causes, what it causes? Acute cor pulmonale. Okay. Next. Nitrogen, what it is called? Decompression sickness. Next. Who is right, who is left? Left. Then here. Left. Everyone? Left or right? Left. The answer is right. See, it is massive pulmonary embolism always will occur in the right side of the heart. Okay, it's pulmonary. Where from pulmonary artery is arising? Right? Like that you answer. It's anatomy. Okay, nothing else. So there will be sudden rise in the pulmonary pressure. Ultimately, it will go to and leads to acute cor pulmonale. Okay. Remember, always remember, it's right side of the heart, not left. Okay. Pulmonary artery arises from the right ventricle. This one. This I haven't told, but this laboratory finding is one of the most important thing in fat embolism. There will be, any guess? Thrombocytopenia, very good. So what will happen, as I already told, the platelets will come and accumulate near the fat globules, and there will be decrease in the platelet count. Okay. So this platelet aggregation around the fat globules lowers the platelet count. So there will be, in this patient, there will be thrombocytopenia. Last one. Guess. The answer is mitral stenosis. Okay. So if there is left atrial dilatation, so it leads to thrombus, and ultimately it will leads to embolus formation. Okay. Okay, clear? Any doubt regarding embolism? Read thrombus and embolism, very important question both. Okay.